here's the chlorophyll in the tribs. What I want to do here is here's chlorophyll 20 to 35. Remember the highest chlorophylls we saw this year, 50 are in the oxbow, except for the Great Miami. The Great Miami is a green pea soup. And now it doesn't have harmful algal blooms, never has. It's green algae, we call them kind of sewage oxidation pond algae, and unicellular diatoms. But it has very, very high chlorophyll because it has very, very high nutrients that get converted into chlorophyll, and it's assessed on. Most rivers, most small rivers, and the Great Miami, historically, all of the algal production was on the bottom, sticking to rocks. But when the nutrients get high enough and the flow gets slow enough, the algae grow fast enough in the water column to shade the bottom, and it pulls the life off of the bottom and puts it into the water column. So now it's the filter feeders that dominate in the river rather than the scrapers, and it's a big event, but it's a very, very eutrophic river. It's the most eutrophic river in the state of Ohio, I think, except for the Maumee, which is worse. But you can see the tributary chlorophylls. Where are they? 4.4 milligrams per liter versus an average of 15. And you can see the NTU, the turbidity. Now the turbidity that Brian showed was sediment. The turbidity I'm showing is algae. It's, the turbidity is another indirect measure of the amount of algae in that river. And it's pretty extreme, NTUs of 120. That's much, much higher than we should see in the river. So, you know, this is the story. The river is, if we look at E. coli in the tributary streams, this is total coliforms, which means nothing, and this is E. coli down here. The recreational contact in canoes is 1030, and you'll notice that except for a few samples, the tributary streams are safe for canoeing as well as the main stem. Here's E. coli in the big river. Here's the 1030 line, and what? Maybe 5 or 6 samples are above that. You can be above the 1030 20% of the time and be in compliance. So the river's in compliance for recreational contact. The waters in the Great Miami are almost as clean as those in the Little Miami. You'll notice that the geometric mean is 848, which is higher than we'd like to see. You know, the swimming contact in a one day is about 286 colonies, so you can't go swimming on most days. Now, there are a lot of days where 286 you can. There are more days you can go swimming than there are days when you shouldn't be boating, but we do have a fair amount of contaminant in the river. If I look at our rankings and say, well, which parameters in the Great Miami River main stem are a problem, here's our rank. 5 is the highest or the worst. 1 is blue, and that's the best. Well, 1 down here. And you can see that what's that? Total phosphorus and nitrate are amongst our highest namely the worst in the Great Miami in our ranking system. Turbidity from chlorophyll is also up there, and the pH from photosynthesis. So the main stem is hit with eutrophicational problems and mildly with sewage. 8 parameters of water quality rankings, average, tributary. These are the tribs. The average for the tribs is 2.35, and you can see we have some in the over 2 or less than 2, which are exceptional. Come on back. Wrong one. Which are exceptional. Most of them are good, between 2 to 3, and we only have 2. That's really one. Those 2 that I showed you that are less than 3. So by and large, our tributaries are in pretty good shape. And here's the main stem of water quality ranks. The average is 2.67 in the green, with several days, particularly the Ohio River sites down here at mile 0, being very good. And these are the yellow ones. So we do have days which we'd say the water quality is only fair in the main stem for the variety of reasons that we've been talking about, the eutrophicational impact. This is 2013, and you'll notice there were only 3 dates in green, and most of them were in yellow. So the water quality this year is better than last year. Here's the water quality ranks in the Great Miami River main stem, and you see upstream of the confluence of the Great Miami and the Ohio River, and the Ohio River with the confluence are the best. So the Ohio River is in good shape, and then Heritage Park is next, and Harrison Avenue is kind of mid-river, and then it gets progressive, well, it's worst as you go down. Blue Rock Bridge and the Hamilton County Sewage Treatment Plant is down here at the bottom. The state OEPA in their 2010 study first pointed out there are some problems below the plant on Taylor Creek. So the total point source load in the OEPA report in 2012 is Dayton's wastewater treatment plant, Montgomery the Western Regional Plant, here's the Fairfield wastewater treatment plant and other wastewater treatment plants. They put in a load of phosphorus of 1,933 pounds before 1999, 1,565 pounds up to 2010, and our load this year, the median was 5,425 pounds, which exceeds this figure by quite a bit. So, does this say that we're getting higher loading again? We're getting some sense that that's happening in the Little Miami. It looks like the Little Miami is starting to go back up. And maybe that the Great Miami is also kicking back up as combined usage is going up. Oh, I just wanted to point out that we do have a PCS purified phosphate that used to put in 253 pounds of phosphorus per day. They're sitting right there on Patty's Run, and they did have a spill of 1,100 pounds of phosphate 3 years ago into the groundwater, phosphoric acid that goes into cokes. It's drinking phosphate, but the calcium carbonate in the rocks just reacted with it almost instantly. It didn't go anywhere. So our summary for the main stem: pH is elevated to extremes by algal densities at 8.2. Total phosphorus was high, higher than should be for urban streams, let alone for a nice clean stream. Nitrate was also high. The N to P molar ratio was 19.7. Richardson's number, the ideal number, is 14, so there's a little extra nitrogen in the water compared to phosphorus. The algae then are likely phosphorus limited, if you talk about limitation anytime. The conductivity is 600, and it's lower than it's been in a few years. The geometric mean for the bacteria, 62 colony-forming units this year versus 244 in the tribs, well below the swimming level for 2014. So, for the geometric mean, which is the way the state averages their E. coli, you could actually go swimming in the Great Miami on many dates. Just to show you that it has been getting better, you saw this last year. These are the OEPA data for fish. And this is the IBI, the Index of Biotic Integrity, going from 1980 to 1989 to 1995 to 2010. And you'll notice that the index just keeps moving up. Here's the Ohio River down here. And it's now up in what we would call the acceptable warm water habitat component. And this is all due to the Clean Water Act. And what we're asking now is the Clean Water Act has been in effect, and we're not seeing the big changes. Are we getting reversal because of non-point source and habitat changes?
Mike, can I point something out on
Yeah.
the slide? See the drop below the wastewater treatment plants though? So that's an interesting trend that just occurs in the fish data there. we're still in compliance, but there is a drop in scores.
Here's the Taylor Creek, you can't see that. They don't have quite the resolution we do, and they only do it about once every 15 years. What we have done though is we've added 2 parameters, so we now have an 8 parameter index and a 6 parameter index, and they ought to have a slope of 1. This line ought to go straight to the corner. So our 8 parameter index is a little lower than our 6 parameter index. Here's a 6 parameter index, and this is the 8 parameter index. And but we're discussing what to do with it because we're going in collaboration with 4 groups for the index. We're probably going to stay with the 6 parameter index for our reporting out. The water quality ranks of tribs by longitude, latitude, and the main stem can be seen on here. Here's our blue tribs over here on the west side, and everybody else is green. And here's the yellow ones on the east side. You'll notice there are a couple of yellows on the Great Miami main stem. The rest of them are green. So this is a spatial distribution. This will be on a GIS map on our new website that's going to be on the Green Umbrella site in future. And I'm going to turn it back over to Brian.
Additional thanks to an individual I forgot to mention is Carrie Gibbons. She does a lot of behind-the-scenes work in terms of some of the data cleanup and helping us get to this point. So definitely wanted to thank her. Also from our office, Sue Jariga is here, who helps with the equipment purchases and helps me make it through the billing process and that kind of thing. So we appreciate those individuals. And I know there's individuals with, obviously, Rivers Unlimited and Friends of the Great Miami who are very helpful behind the scenes as well.